To be honest, Tom, it's all about root cause for us. What we do is we try and understand what's really happening, and to do that, you've got, as I say, you've got to have a look at the product. And you've got to really understand it.
Hello and welcome to another MTD podcast. I'm joined in the studio today by Miss Chloe Reed, who needs no introduction. And I'm also here with Oemeta, and we're going to go through some of the problems you might be faced with your coolant. So, guys, can you introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Louisa Johns, the UK Sales Manager for Oemeta.
And Dave Woodford, Oemeta MD.
So, David, how can you prove the quality of your product?
To take it back, Tom, the big thing for me is that we've been trying to sell coolants into the market for the last 25, 30 years. In the UK, as a manufacturer, we're 100 years old. And what we're trying to do is take a step back and approach it in a way that engineers can understand it. So we've developed quite a complex process where we take samples, put them into concentrate samples of the product you're using at the moment, because if you're going to actually improve something, the first thing you have to do is know exactly where that customer's position in terms of performance characteristics is at that time. How can you improve if you've got nothing to benchmark against, essentially? So we take concentrate samples, we put them into our R&D in Germany, we go through 50 performance tests, and as a manufacturer we're fairly unique in being able to do that in our sales process. And then we come back with a complete set of results, and then we can talk it through with the customer where they can improve and things that they can change to make quite significant savings.
So, talking about savings and from a machinist perspective, can you talk me through how coolant can help me on the shop floor with, say, tool life and surface finish of a part?
Yes, essentially the first thing we need to do is look at the product that you're using at the moment and try and work out how much mineral oil in there, how much other base oils may be in there. Ester technology is used quite universally at the moment. And then we also look at the EP packages in there. Once we understand the package, then we put it through a performance test, and that could be a tapping torque test where we measure torque at a defined depth, or we put a Ricart test, which is where we roll a bearing down a 100-meter track, and then we measure the elliptical wear there. Essentially, these give us values, and then we can compare these values with values for other products that have been through exactly the same process, and that gives us a data set for comparison.
So we've talked about how you can improve, and there's some things I just want to get in at this point, because nobody likes cleaning the machine. It's we've all been there. It's awful. You get gloves covered in absolute rubbish. But as cleaning the machine is hard enough already, sometimes you also get that sticky residue in the machine which just holds on to chips and makes it a pain to clean. So how can you solve problems just like that?
That can also be part of looking at the base oils in there. If you're not using high performance esters in there, by using those products, we can reduce the amount of mineral oil that is in the emulsion itself. Get more lubricity with less oil, essentially. What happens if you don't use those oils, those ester technologies or other lubricant additives, essentially? You have to use more mineral oil. Some way you've got to get some level of performance, and by just throwing lots of mineral oil in there, then gives the machine a sort of a sticky coating around the inside, and components also come out sticky as well. So how can we improve? We can use better quality lubricant additives and then reduce the mineral oil considerably. We also can look at the emulsifier package as well. It's quite an expensive ingredient with the product. The way some people reduce the cost of a product is use less of an ingredient and use poorer quality ingredient, and so we can look at that. And at the end of the day, if that's a poor quality ingredient, that emulsifier, which is there to bind the oil into the emulsion itself, won't work so well, and it'll start releasing oil, which then spreads out around the inside of the machines and cause what we call free oil, which you know as sticky components and sticky machines. And so you see quite a high consumption there, to be honest.
Louisa, we're talking about coolant, and I think a lot of people take coolant for granted. So when you're going to speak to new customers, it's not just a one-shot job for you, is it? You talk about the longevity of the situation.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, to start with, we have to build the relationship. And a lot of people haven't heard of Oemeta. Still, even though we're growing, we're still quite unheard of in the market. So the main thing to do is be reassuring. And by doing this benchmark testing, it gives us data to fall back on. So it's not just about what I say or anyone that works for Oemeta says when we go into a new customer, oh, we can resolve this, we can resolve that, because people have heard those lines all before. And they want more than that. They want more than words, and we have the testing to prove it. So, and also we're looking for a long-term relationship. It's not just in and out. We're not just off the shelf and, oh, well, let's try this product or that product. We manufacture 300 different products for a reason, because there's so many different processes, and what each shop floor wants to achieve is different from the next. So it's a lot more bespoke, and the testing really helps give us some data to fall back on and prove, and is reassurance for the new potential customer who doesn't know about Oemeta yet. It's for us to prove ourselves.
100%, and data doesn't lie, and the fact that you can back that up with data,
Absolutely,
and do the testing, like I know some people use the same coolant for 10 years.
Indeed.
They don't think it's sustainable to change it, but it's so much more than that, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Lots of people get used to the same product and they have the same issues, which a lot of times they don't even realise are issues. So we do try and visit people, even informally, just pop in and go and actually see shop floors, because what we'll see is areas that they may not actually realise is an issue or they put up with. And again, it's not for us to push our way into companies, but we're always there for secondary advice. And a lot of times it's taken me quite a few years to actually get into customers. But what I will say is once we have a customer, it's a long-term relationship and it's a partnership. And even when we resolve the initial issues they may have or KPIs they want to achieve, it's about continuous improvement. So we work with customers ongoing. Every year we look at continuous improvement areas they want to look at. And we don't just cover the coolants, we cover all areas of the shop floor and services and equipment. We try and be there to make life easier for them.
That's great.
It's a manic industry, manufacturing, so it's our job as the coolant people to make life easier for them. So we do everything off site initially to prove ourselves. In trials, we'll come in evenings, weekends, whenever suits them, to put in a trial, and it's all about us proving ourselves, and then it's ongoing. Mm-hmm. It's an ongoing relationship.
Now, just before we get into some of the other products you do, because I know you're not just all coolant, David, I'd just like to go through some of the problems some people might be having and how you guys can actually solve it. So we're talking about smelly machines, rust or foaming of the coolant. What can you guys do to help people in them situations?
To be honest, Tom, it's all about root cause for us. What we do is we try and understand what's really happening, and to do that, you've got, as I say, you've got to have a look at the product that's in use at the moment, and you've got to really understand it. Everything can be adjusted. I mean, these products, very much like anything in engineering, are designed, engineered, and then assembled, essentially. And reassembling them, re-engineering them is what we do. And so to have an issue is really a process of understanding what's causing that issue, on which our analysis will tell us, and then reassembling a product or using a product generally that's off the shelf, but we understand the characteristics, and then putting it forward. But the first thing to do is understand what is actually the nuts and bolts of the product you're using, and then we can then generally see the root cause. It's fairly obvious, but we will show you. We will bring the data set to you, and we will show you, and you can test. You can have a look at the data that we've tested, and it becomes apparent. From that, we can set some KPIs. That's a beautiful thing with these things, is that you can actually look at this, you can see the performance improvement, wherever it may be, and you can set a clear KPI, and that's what we work with.
So we're talking about data, quite a lot. But how much do you guys actually have to do on site before getting that data? Because there might be people listening who are a bit worried that they might have to stop a machine for an hour, half a day. So what do you guys actually do on site?
All we need is two things. We need a 250 ml, so if you a small sample of the concentrate, and it has to be the concentrate, and then a 250 ml sample of the water as well. That's all. We just access, or you can leave that at reception for us. We will then take that away. We will send that to our R&D. They will put it through the same data tests, or the data set essentially, that every other product has gone through, and then we've got a complete matrix that we can then work with. Once that happens, and it's a lot of work, but as Louise has already mentioned, we're looking for long-term relationships. So we're prepared to put that working at the start so that we can then hopefully have that long-term relationship with that customer going forward, because we've built that level of trust and that understanding. So essentially, take the samples, we send them away, 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the level of testing that we want to do, and then we bring it back and we discuss all the results with you.
This might be a really naive question, but I'd love to ask it. What difference does a type of water make to your coolant?
It has, at the end of the day, it's 90% of the mixed emulsion.
Mm-hmm.
So it has a huge influence, but it's only a negative influence if you don't understand the water quality beforehand. Yeah. Exactly. So we will, when we take the water sample away, we use it for various test methods, foaming characteristics, because if we're going to look for foaming, it has to be in your water quality, not one that we've just decided to use essentially. But we also look at the other characteristics. Corrosion is something that can be caused by really hard water containing lots of chlorides and salts. And so before we suggest a solution for you, we completely need to know the background.
From the source,
From
really,
the source,
yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And it's funny, you can have a customer having one water quality, you can go literally half a mile down the road and there's a completely different water quality.
No,
so every single one has to be tested.
That's another question I was going to ask you. You deal with so many different companies. I bet they're really small OEMs and huge big SMEs. So you're a company for everybody, I would say.
Yes, yeah. We will carry this test out for absolutely anybody who asks us to at the end of the day. For us, it's really interesting to see characteristics of products in use, and we learn a lot as well, if I'm honest. And so the more that we can test, the happier we are. So yeah, no problem.
Sounds great.
So Louisa, I've got to ask, you deal with people firsthand, you're normally the first point of contact.
Indeed.
What is it like when you're trying to talk to somebody about coolant?
I think the thing is what I have to appreciate, and I've been working for Oemeta for 13 years now, is how hard it is for people that are working on shop floors to, 1, come to the phone and talk, 2, reply to emails, and 3, even think about trialling, because to them it's just extra work, extra hassle. So it is about reassuring, it is about proving, it is about doing as much as we possibly can that does not affect or disrupt them at all. So the initial relationship is getting that across to them. So the main thing for me to do is to listen, really. Listen to the main areas that is affecting them. So it's holding them up, and then find a way to help make their life easier. So it's all about making their life easier. And then once we prove it, then slowly they start to see that actually their life becomes easier, and everything works a lot better. So a lot of our testing helps them in the long run. It's just initially people have such a lack of time.
It's that initial trying to get through the door.
Yeah, and it is.
Me and Chloe have both been on the shop floor, and sometimes you just do not have time.
Have the time.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot of times we are quite open that people can talk to our customers. They can. We've had times where even recently a big automotive manufacturers come and visited another one who in real life probably is like a competitor, but they're looking at a process just to get reassurance, see how things work, and they really appreciate that we will do that for them. we're quite happy for customers to talk to customers. We're all about working together and getting the best process and product to them.
That's fantastic, that is.
And I think
Really
that speaks for itself, that you managed to get one big automotive
Indeed.
customer to another one who, like you said, are probably competitors.
But that just proves that it's working. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And
Yeah.
people are shouting and raving about it. And the one thing I do like about you is you're in it for the long run. You're
Yeah.
not just gonna go when
Yeah.
the job is sorted. You're in it for the long run. The data proves itself, and you can't lie with the results, can you?
Yeah, and the fact that our customers will also stand by it, and they're long-term customers, and they'll help us get more customers. Is our biggest sales technique is referrals.
Yeah.
I think we've said it already. I think we need to say it again that speaks for itself.
Yeah,
That you're not essentially knocking on doors. You're having your customers tell new customers all about you.
yeah, absolutely, and it's why as well we retain a lot of our staff because
How long have you been here?
I've been working for Oemeta for 13 years.
Wow, okay.
And it was supposed to be just a stopgap.
Really?
I don't come initially from an engineering background, but the fact is it's a company that I like their values and I like the way that it's about helping people ultimately. And that makes my life as a sales manager very easy, because I have faith in what we're putting forward and I always want to do the best for people. That's ultimately who I am, and it fits with our ethos in Oemeta UK.
Now, obviously, I knew you guys were coming in today, so yesterday I spent quite a lot of time on your website, and I just want there's two points on your website I'd like to go through. One is coolant management and how you can help offline, not just what you do in testing, but then also it's the fluid management, like how to get coolant from one machine to another, because you actually make a trolley which is health and safety certified to move coolant around the shop.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, our primary role is to build and produce and deliver a real quality coolant product to people. But obviously, there's a whole added value that we can add to that. So I think the first thing is people. We are the manufacturer, so our frontline technicians have communications right back to our R&D in Germany. So everybody is talking. We're a company that believes in communication, and so we encourage people to talk to the chemists, the technicians, right back. So there's a real depth of support there. So knowledge. The one thing I think that we can bring to the table with a potential new customer is a lot of knowledge. Then with the added value of equipment, we do a whole portfolio, a big catalogue of equipment. All this equipment we've tested ourselves. So we've put it on site at our cost. We've seen the value of it. Only once we've seen the value of it will we then bring it to the customer's attention that it may be something. So again, one of our benefits is our technicians move around a lot of shop floors. We have that benefit. We have no competitors amongst the customers essentially. So we are free to roam. We see good ideas, and what we try and do is bring the best ideas that we've seen out in the field, coolant related, back to anybody we think would benefit from them. So I think it's all about information exchange. Louisa's touched on it earlier. If we can bring the best practices, and it is not uncommon for us to take one customer to see equipment running, another customer to see the value of it. They talk to each other, which is great, and then we take them back and we put the solution in. Very often we put the solution in on trial, so they don't even have to buy it. They just have to see it if it works for them. But we would only do that really because we believe it would. So again, it's solution providing.
There's one thing that you said there, communication.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of running a company and being in tune with your fellow workmates. Do you see a trend that everybody talks about, that they see on a shop floor? It could be one thing, it could be another thing, that people are doing with their coolant. Say they're not cleaning out their machines very properly, or they're not using the right levels correctly. Is there a trend that you see when your guys are out on the road?
The biggest trend is one we've really touched on a little bit, and that's people don't know how to evaluate products.
Yeah.
When you look at a coolant, it's white and it looks like milk. It looks like milk to me and Louisa. We couldn't go to a site and say, use this coolant because that one doesn't look right.
Yeah.
How that, we don't know. At the end of the day, what the biggest trend is that lack of understanding, and through lack of understanding, we see lots of misunderstanding. And so what we're trying to do is clear the fog a little bit and give the products real technology, and so people can in a way that people understand. I think that's the thing that's lacking in the market at the moment. I
Yeah,
think.
definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, that and that's what we're trying to do is give people a process that they can actually believe in.
It's great that you talk to your customers about it as well. You're not just selling a product, you're talking them through the product. And I think having that communication with a customer, that trust, is just incredible.
Yeah, we also offer free training, which helps us. So with the shop floor, anyone that deals with the coolants will go and train them so that they can manage it. They understand everything behind it, which means that it's run better on the shop floor. It helps us, it helps them. We do apprentice training. It's all included in our service. Dave often goes and does talks.
Yeah, the more training, the more knowledge on the shop floor makes our life easier.
Oh, 100%.
There has been a sort of a little bit of historic that the less you know, the more value we have, but that's not our philosophy. We're the other way around. The more you know, the better it is, because you're going to then choose wisely, and if we can put the data in front of you, then you're going to make the decision. So our philosophy is if anybody wants training, like Louisa says, it's free. We will give it all day, every day, to be honest, because it's great for us in the long run. And we're all about the long run. Everything that we're trying to say here is it's about the long run. It's not about here and now.
Now, I've been sat here listening to everything you guys have said, and one thing keeps coming to my head, and it's one thing people always hate talking about, and that is cost. Surely, with everything you guys offer, from your free training to all your testing, you guys have got to be more expensive than your competitors.
No, the product quality is extremely high. Where we see the value is in the longevity of the relationship. At the end of the day, we could sell it low, and you wouldn't take it for very long. It doesn't really give us an advantage. What we would rather do is sell it at the right price, but then look for the relationship to be incredibly beneficial, really. And I think, again, we're back to the data testing. If we can save you 20-30% on your tooling, or if we can extend your sump life, or if we can reduce your consumption, make your machines cleaner, your components cleaner, there's a big value there for that. And so you will pay a market price for that, and that's all we are, is a market price. But if we add the value, then we get to keep you for a very long time, hopefully. We've got customers 25 years plus running with us, so I think, if something was wrong with the product, then we wouldn't have that customer base, really.
That's the thing. If I owned an engineering company, I would want to know what's going on. So you have companies that just come in, change coolant, walk back out. That's where it happens. But it's great that you guys sit with your customers, talk through everything. You've got the data, and it gives that longevity and that trust that you've got there, that you could call you up anything that you needed. And the free training, you know what's going into your machines. These machines are a big investment for a company, and if you're running a shop floor of 12, that's a lot of investment to be putting your money into. So you being able to communicate with the customers is just fantastic.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, there's always sometimes a problem comes up. You could change material. You could have something happen that changes your process. But what we will have built up during that period is that complete trust that we can then do the data testing again, and then we can look at the issues, we can look at the materials, and then we can come to a solution. And it's having that relationship is key at the end of the day. If you can build that relationship and trust into that relationship, then we can then work together, and it can be a really good and fruitful partnership.
I think for anybody listening to this podcast, what would be the benefits and the next step? If people have listened to this and think, yes, I'm having all these problems, these guys sound like they know exactly what's going on, or they can help me, and I'm just looking for that partnership. What are the benefits and the next step you guys would ask someone to take?
Well, I would ask them to ring Louisa.
Yeah.
So, no, I think that the first thing to do is make contact with the company. Obviously, Louisa's sales manager, and there's various ways of getting in touch with the company. So, phone calls, LinkedIn, websites, emails. We'd love to hear from you, but the first thing we really need to do is have a look at your problem. Louisa's already mentioned it. We'll listen. I mean, that's the big thing. We're not coming to sell you anything at this stage. It's purely consultative at that stage. Have a look at the problem, show us what's happening. We can have a look at the product that you're using, and then we can come back with a solution. But the solution's data driven rather than just try this product because it's on the shelf and we have it and we can deliver it tomorrow. That's not our way, to be honest. What we want to do is look at the product, look at the problem, and then offer you a solution that's understandable to you. And that's another thing. You have to understand the data we're putting in front of you, and then you have to understand. We have to work together so we all understand what will be the solution. But no, Louisa is your first point of contact.
What I would add as well is that we do prove, when we come back with the proposal, we do prove that in a trial. And the trial is a sale or return trial, so it's at our cost. And it's done at a time that fits in with the shop floor. Like I've said before, we come evenings, weekends, clean out machines, fill it up and prove what we're putting down with the data. So it's not even that you have to believe our data. We prove it all the added value that we bring, the cost of our product. We show where you're going to save the money. So where people might be concerned, am I going to have to pay more? We can have the data where we know you're not going to have to pay more. And then we set out some KPIs and we prove it all in a trial. So really, from any person, company's point of view, there is no risk. We take away all risk. The only thing that they have is a cleaned out machine.
Sounds good.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah. Well, guys, I would like to just say a big thank you from all of us at MTD for joining us today.
Thank you.
I don't know about you, Chloe, but I have definitely learned something new about coolant today.
I've learned a lot, and I'm actually allergic to coolant. So we won't go there. Okay.
maybe
guys,
not to us.
No.
We'll save that for another podcast.
Yes.
So, guys, thank you very much, and thank you to all you at home for listening, and we'll hope to see you in the next one.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the MTD podcast. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. Find more episodes on mtdcnc.com.